Today was the first full day on the job for President Biden. Oh, I gotta say, that does feel good on the tongue. President Biden, that's like licking the frosting right off the spatula.
Oh, it's a Schadenfreude moment on this Friday. It's a Schadenfreude Friday on the Chris Plant Show. Welcome to it. Welcome to Friday. Friday-luia to you. Mike Opelka in for the vacationing Chris Plant. And my goodness, is there a buffet of fun today. Yeah, the Colbert Show. Going away. It's over. It's done. Stick a fork in them and turn them over completely. This is amazing news. And yes, I am invoking the Schadenfreude principle right now. The pleasure we take at the misfortune of others. Oh, it feels good. I am awash in Schadenfreude. Colbert, I feel badly for anyone who works on his show who didn't have the same issues he has, who didn't hate America, didn't hate the free market economy. But it could not have happened to a nicer guy when it comes to someone who really, really, really was just all about going after anyone who was against the Democrat Party. So it's over for Colbert. And in case you missed it, he announced it to the audience. It's kind of interesting how this happens. This is the difference between television and radio. In radio, if you're going to be canceled, you're just canceled. You don't even get to say goodbye. He is going to say a very long goodbye. He, Colbert, will be afforded the opportunity to work through May of 2026. And I'm sure they're not going to be allowing him to just say anything. But this is a fascinating story. And I think there's a lot more to it than to what is being told to us. CBS saying it's, financial reasons. We can't sell enough ads. We had the issue with James Corden. We couldn't support his show because not enough people were watching. Some of that is true. Some of that is Bravo Sierra. Well, we'll see. But in case you missed it, you should hear the announcement. Michael, if you have it, the Colbert news that he's not going to be around after next year.
Oh, hey, everybody. We got a great show for you tonight. Senator Adam Schiff was my guest. We harmonized on Seven Bridges Road. What a voice. I cried. But before we start the show, I want to let you know something that I found out just last night. Next year will be our last season. The network will be ending The Late Show in May. And yeah, I share your feelings.
Do you? Do you really share our feelings? I don't think you share my feelings. I'm thrilled about this, but I also have a little bit of my own personal analysis on what's going on here. And one of the things that has been said is they can't make money on the show. So I started doing a little research into the Late Show with Stephen Colbert, and this started his gig as host of The Late Show began in 2015. And at that point, it was reported he was being paid $6 million a year. In 2019, he signed an extension on his contract that increased that salary to $15 million a year. So Colbert has been making himself $15 million a year. And that's not the production deal. We remember the gigantic numbers that used to be thrown around by David Letterman, making huge amounts of money. And that was Letterman getting paid to produce the whole show, so he was paying his staff. I don't think that's the case with Colbert. So since 2019, he's been making $15 million a year. That was extended in 2023 to run through 2026. So here's the kind of real story. Colbert's contract was scheduled to run out next year. probably in May, because that's the end of the television season. They usually go away around Memorial Day and come back around Labor Day or midsummer. So Colbert's deal was scheduled to end, and reportedly his current salary may have gone up as high as $16 million a year. An important number. A really important number. And why is that an important number? Well, Colbert himself stood on stage not yesterday, but just a couple of days ago when he came back from vacation. And I want to wander through this. I've got this clip here because he said some things that I think may have ticked off the network.
My parent corporation, Paramount, paid Donald Trump a $16 million settlement over his 60 Minutes lawsuit.
Interesting. $16 million. That's exactly the Colbert salary, huh? Kind of interesting, right?
As someone who has always been a proud employee of this network, I'm offended. And I don't know if anything will ever repair my trust in this company. But just taking a stab at it, I'd say $16 million would help.
Well, you're getting paid $16 million, or at least through May of next year. I wonder if they're going to let him stay on throughout the duration of this now long march, this long goodbye for Stephen Colbert. $16 million. He had more to say against his own network.
This settlement is for a nuisance lawsuit Trump filed claiming that 60 Minutes deceptively edited their interview with then-candidate Kamala Harris last fall.
Really, a nuisance lawsuit. Anybody who saw the unedited tape and then the actual clips that aired has definite proof that CBS was attempting to interfere with the election just before the election. Although he's still a company man on this point.
Paramount knows they could have easily fought it because, in their own words, the lawsuit was completely without merit.
Every lawsuit. That's what you say about every single lawsuit. If you're the defendant, you say it's completely without merit. He went on to try and tell a few jokes here, but at the very end of this 2.5-minute sort of rant about his own network, which he said had betrayed him, he had this to say.
Some of the TV typers out there are blogging that once Skydance gets CBS, the new owner's desire to please Trump could put pressure on late-night host and frequent Trump critic Stephen Colbert. Okay. But how are they going to put pressure on Stephen Colbert if they can't find him?
Irony? Well, it's wonderful, isn't it? It's a wonderful thing. Colbert is done. He's done. He will get his full salary for the next year. And then the question becomes, what is CBS going to do with that time slot? Do they return it to the affiliates? They're going to have to put something in there. There is a considerable outrage from some others in the media. We'll get to that, and I'm curious about your thoughts on this. 888-630-9625, 888-630-9625. I do believe there may have been some precedent for what happened to Colbert. Can we go back to the Dominion suit against Fox not that long ago? That lawsuit from that voting technology company that went after Fox, and the settlement was ultimately $787 million. $787 million because the threat of going to court and actually having the case heard in court also made many of us believe that some of the air personalities on Fox would have been called to testify. And I guess the people at Fox thought that was a better idea to settle that for $787 million. But let's not forget, there were two Fox air personalities who were fired. And while it was never totally confirmed that they were fired because of the $787 million settlement with Dominion, you might expect that Dominion or their legal team was demanding some skins, if you will. Tucker Carlson, was Tucker fired because of the Dominion suit? I think you can make a case for that. I think it's reasonable to say that. Tucker Carlson was certainly not a drag on the Fox network's revenues. No, he was doing fine. He's still doing fine. And Dan Bongino. Dan had a very successful weekend show on Fox, and he was absolutely cruising. And he ended up suddenly being cut loose from the Fox News network. I maintain that what's happening to Colbert and his shows is not new, and it could be part of a settlement with the Trump lawsuit that maybe CBS had to make something, or maybe it's just economics. Maybe nobody was watching Colbert's show to the point where they were financially incapable of supporting the program. I think it's a reasonable assumption. But I also think that if I were in the shoes of the Trump attorneys, I might have asked for the network to maybe remove, get a skin of your own. And Colbert certainly is one of those skins. How many times did he spend on his air? How many sketches, how many minutes were dedicated to the total insulting and slamming of not just Donald Trump, but pretty much everybody on the conservative side of things. Conservative media, conservative voters, all of it. They drifted away from comedy and the late night entertainment thing to become an arm of the DNC. And in the end, well, he did well. Think about it. He's been there for quite some time. He got 10 years. And certainly the last 5 or 6 now, cashing $15 million a year checks. Well, the folks over at CNN had to weigh in too. Brian Stelter, of course, making himself available to Anderson Cooper. I'll share that with you just around the corner. But if you have a thought on it, happy to hear from you. 888-630-9625, 888-630-9625. We'll get to everything today. There is a boatload of stuff for us to talk about, including Tim Walz telling everybody just how excited he is, how thrilled he would be for Donald Trump to succeed. I think the truth meter's flipping out over that one. We'll get to all of it. It's Mike Opelka in for Chris Plant on a Friday on The Chris Plant Show.
Chris here with a list of things that none of us should trust. The Washington Post, the New York Times, anything on CNN. Here's a list of things that I do trust. The Washington Times. Support real journalism for just $1 a week at WashingtonTimes.com/Chris.
It is the Chris Plant Show. It is Friday, and it's Mike Opelka in for my buddy Chris Plant, who's off on an Icelandic cruise. And we should probably check in on whatever that earthquake report or volcano report was from that part of the world and see if our buddy is safe. I'm sure he is. I'm sure he's very safe. He's definitely safe. He's safe. But we're talking about the seismic shift in late-night television that happened yesterday with the announcement of the ultimate cancellation of Stephen Colbert's Late Show on CBS. And you got to wonder who's next. Who could be next among the late-night hosts or political hosts to be shown the door? We've seen the end of several programs, like the angry and often just outright wrong and racist Joy Reid program is gone from MSNBC. And how does Sharpton still have a job? That is the question. He's got to have pictures of somebody over there. But you're welcome to join in the conversation on this. Marco is in Springfield, Virginia. Marco, welcome to the Chris Plant Show. What's up?
Hi, Michael. Thanks for taking my call. I'm glad that CBS is giving Colbert the axe because he's the most obnoxious person I think I've ever seen on TV. But I'm hoping that MSLSD and ABC wake up and get rid of The View Jen Psaki, who's speculating that Donald Trump has dementia. It's like, your job is to report the news, not to speculate on people's health. And then, of course, there's NBC itself and those news anchors. So I'm hoping that the Whoopi Goldbergs and the Joy Behars and the Lawrence O'Donnells and the Rachel Madclowns get their walking papers, because who watches them anyways?
Well, all of their numbers are challenged lately, and we'll see what happens. We'll see if the finances actually hold sway. Now, NBC has obviously dominion over MSNBC. Microsoft was in a partnership with them, so they're not there anymore. In terms of The View, that's part of ABC News, and it's the networks are set up such that, if anybody doesn't know, my wife worked at the networks for years in the soap opera world. They're split into two divisions, news and entertainment, and soap operas were entertainment. But once The View started, Barbara Walters, who was obviously a news person, created The View, and they put it on daytime, and it's been a strong cash cow. But speaking of cows, the women on The View have got to be drawing a huge chunk of money salary-wise. Like we said, Colbert, $16 million, that's unsustainable. So, yeah, we'll see. Maybe that's a good topic. Who else should lose their gig? And I think it should be merit-based. As a person who believes in ultimately the free market economy, I think everything should be merit-based. If you can support your show, you should be allowed to keep your show. If you can't, the network that employs you has an obligation, I believe, to things like shareholders to say, no, we're not doing this anymore. Your show stinks on ice. We can't make money, so goodbye. And so we'll see what happens. But thank you, Marco. Interesting. Get rid of Jen Psaki. Jen Snarky, as I like to call her. Colonel Klebb. I think Chris's term, Colonel Klebb, was always my favorite. But looking at some of the numbers, because a lot of folks were saying, how can Colbert stay there? And I'm saying it too. And then there are people who are saying, well, how can he not? He's doing well. We looked at the ratings and compared the ratings of the Colbert Late Show to Gutfeld, which airs earlier, yes. But it's on cable. It's not on broadcast. And that's a significantly lower total audience availability. But let's say in January, Gutfeld outperformed the Late Show with almost 3.5 million total viewers every night. And the Late Show was 2.3 million viewers. That's a gigantic difference, especially in advertising numbers. So it's no wonder. And again, Gutfeld, yes, airs earlier, but it's killing it when it comes to audience, especially in the coveted younger demos, the 25-54 demo. They're absolutely destroying the networks. We'll get into what Brian Stelter said. I know I promised that to you. I got caught up in a phone call. You want to join us? 888-630-9625. It's Opelka in for Chris Plant on The Chris Plant Show. And welcome to Friday on The Chris Plant Show. Mike Opelka in for my friend Chris Plant. And I'm happy today for several reasons. One of them being that it seems like a little bit of justice is being handed out as the 1 year notice, though, basically. Colbert gets 10-month, whatever it is, notice. His show is going away. CBS tells Stephen Colbert, we're sticking a fork in your show and turning it over. You're done. And a lot of people are upset about it. Brian Stelter is obviously concerned. He was on CNN last night.
Brian, CBS is saying this is a financial decision. It is certainly, the timing of this is kind of stunning.
Right, from the optics standpoint, the timing could not be worse for CBS. Colbert is such an outspoken Trump critic. He's just back from vacation, and as he showed there on Monday, on his first night back from vacation, he's also a thorn in his parent company's side. So this looks to a lot of Colbert's fans like another form of capitulation by CBS to the President of the United States. If you look at Colbert's Instagram page already, his fans are pouring their hearts out and blaming CBS for this. Here's the reporting that I have just in the past few minutes, Anderson, about this financial explanation. Think back to 2023 when the Late Late Show with James Corden went off the air. I reported at the time that that show had become unprofitable, that CBS was not able to sell enough ads to make that show profitable.
Gee, what a concept. You're trying to keep a business afloat, and if you can't sell ads, you have to change. Unless you're PBS, and then you can tell the government we need hundreds of millions of dollars of taxpayer money. But not the case with broadcast networks, with the private networks.
Well, that is now the case for Colbert as well. I'm told by a source close to the network that the Late Show with Stephen Colbert is now technically unprofitable.
Unprofitable. Well, it was profitable, I guess, when Colbert was being paid the just unrealistic salary of $6 million a year. And now you put a 1 in front of that, and suddenly, boy, a $10 million addition to the cost, and I'm sure there have been union legacy costs that added to it. They can't make money on it because not enough people are watching.
So that does give the company a financial reason to end the show starting in May 2026. However, it's not as if Colbert was given a chance to take a pay cut or maybe change the format of the show or move out of the Ed Sullivan Theater. This seems to have happened all at once, and it comes on the verge of that big Paramount Skydance merger. Who's taking over Skydance? Larry Ellison, a friend of President Trump, and his son David. So there may be a lot more to this story. It's just happened in the past hour, but there's a lot more reporting to do on this.
And I'm sure you will fill the airwaves with all kinds of speculation of how Trump fired Stephen Colbert. Colbert fired Stephen Colbert. As somebody who's been part of a reduction in force for financial reasons, I was never given 10 months notice or 11 months notice, whatever it is. I guess he's going to work through May. I was given a couple hours notice and never the chance to say goodbye. So I have zero sympathy for Colbert, absolutely zero sympathy for Colbert. I do feel bad for anybody who worked on the crew and relied on this, but they're going to have a year or so to get through it. They're going to have a chunk of time to get through all of this. The very interesting thing is that Colbert has elicited, the end of the Colbert show has elicited some interesting reactions from other outlets as well. We just played you a little bit from CNN. Over on Morning Joe, Willie Geist is speculating about the impetus for the settlement.
Big news from the world of late night stunned a lot of people.
Yeah.
Stephen Colbert came on his show, Open, last night and said, it's over. Our last show is going to be in May of next year, so you still have some time with him. But obviously, the reason given by Paramount was that it just didn't make financial sense to have these shows anymore. But obviously, hanging over all of this is the settlement that Paramount made over the 60 Minutes interview with Kamala Harris last year and all the pressure, perhaps, from the Trump administration.
Well, you know, there is a merger that has to be approved by the FCC, and this is the Trump administration, so maybe you should have made nice, and maybe offering a skin is going to help. Yes, I'm laughing at a little bit. Scarborough went on to vent his spleen as well.
Yeah, you know, the economics of the late night shows just didn't make the sense that it's made for the past 50 years through Jack Paar, the age of Carson, of course, Letterman. But the timing of this actually is terrible, and it's terrible because you had the settlement with Donald Trump, and then you had Colbert and Jon Stewart criticizing that decision. And then a week later, they're saying, oh, unfortunately, we don't have the money to continue this. I mean, it's not even like they're trying to hide the main purpose of it.
Oh, really? Not even trying to hide the main purpose of it? How do you know, Joe? And aren't you worried? Maybe Joe is concerned. Maybe Scarborough is worried that someone's actually looking at the financials at NBC, at MSNBC. We should look at the ratings for Mika and Joe. But if you're going to make the case that Colbert was done, that his time was over, we should remember some of the cringier, awful moments of the Colbert show, some of the greatest hits, if you will, like when Colbert wanted a pardon from Joe.
Joe Biden gave a full pardon to his son Hunter. You go, Joe. You go. I say he should go full bucket list. Just pardon everybody. Just load up those pardons, do a Nerf machine gun and go pop, 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 pop. Or you know what? You know what would be really funny? This would be really funny if Joe pardoned, like, every late night host.
I wonder if that was actually funny or the dream of every late night host. I wonder if all of them got together and said, oh, should we ask for a pardon? Are you worried? I got to believe that Jimmy Kimmel is concerned. Got to believe that. His show can't be doing that well either. There's been such a renaissance of actual comedy and not the wokeness that goes on. And the politics has got to be exhausting. Look, we're 473 days away from the midterm elections. It's got to be absolutely exhausting for these guys. And I'm sure that Colbert will spend the next 10 months trying to gin up the anti-Republican, anti-Trump sentiments out there as well. I have to go back to another one of Colbert's times that just made us all cringe. This was the time when Colbert and Kamala were together, and I think it was her 6th time on the show.
Madam Vice President, it is an honor to have you here. Thank you for stopping by again. This is your 6th visit to The Late Show.
It is my 6th visit. 5 in person.
5 in person. Does she get a jacket like they do on Saturday Night Live? Is she part of the 5 Timers Club for being there? Just wondering. I never really got to watch Colbert's show. I actually liked when he did the spoof of a conservative on Comedy Central. I knew what he was doing. Didn't agree with all of it, but I understood his performance. But when he went to the network, when he jumped from Comedy Central to CBS, he became a political advocate. His show moved away from entertainment and into political advocacy, and he lost me. I never watched it. Somebody who may have, our buddy Jason in Kensington, Maryland, joining us at 888-630-9625. Jason, welcome. Did you ever watch the Colbert Show?
I watched it just under duress because the show was just bloody awful. I mean, you know, they're going to blame Trump. They're going to blame everything but themselves because once they sort of got in on the bandwagon of bashing Trump, their entertainment value just went down. I mean, it was just an awful show. I mean, even people who hate Trump hated the show because it was boring. I mean, you know, you're going to get Trump 24/7 and you want to sit down and watch a comedy show, and all of a sudden you're getting Trump for the last couple of hours of your night's view, and it's like, I don't want this crap. I mean, it's terrible bloody programming, but I mean, it's just showing over the years that this stuff is starting to fail, you know, with other shows that have fallen by the wayside that have gone after Trump and tried to be entertaining on his back, but it's failed.
Well, I just wonder if the late night format can ever make a successful comeback. I point to Gutfeld. He's at 10 o'clock. He's not in the traditional late night position, but he's done very well with a format that focuses a lot on comedy and laughter. Yes, a lot of it's conservative political leaning, but he sounds more like the traditional Carson Letterman type late night program. Maybe even Leno, where there's an actual focus on entertainment as opposed to politics and getting the message of your party across. And I just don't know if it'll ever come back. Now, you're from Australia, right, Jason?
Yeah. Yes. Yep. Brisbane.
Wasn't there a late night program in Australia that kind of mirrored some of the great American late night programs?
Yeah, there was always copies of basically the same format as American shows, but Australian versions, and they were great. I mean, it was always tongue-in-cheek, and, I mean, we have a different kind of humour out there, of course, so we've applied more of a dry sort of humour. And we also got American shows out there, too, as well as the English shows. So we were kind of spoiled because we had the sort of the best of all of them. And, whether it was Benny Hill or the English comedies or the Australian comedies and then the American stuff, it was all different sort of styles of comedy. But, yeah, we did have copies of a lot of the American sitcoms and game shows and all that. So it was fairly entertaining. But I haven't really seriously watched these shows for years now just because they're bad.
Yeah, I don't understand how the late night format ever returns to its greatness. It used to be a place where you went to see the latest stars of the next movie to come out, and you saw a really curious character and occasionally a funny comic sketch at the beginning. And none of that seems to be happening. As a matter of fact, last night after Colbert made the announcement, Adam Shifty Schiff was on, and I will have... did you watch it last night at all, by any chance?
No, I didn't. I was probably counting sheep by that time.
Well, good for you.
So.
But I did watch it, and I have Schiff. I just got to make sure, I'll have to clear it with Michael Piercy during the break, that we're allowed to play what Adam Schiff said because we're not in the late night time slot. I think Schiff is he's playing the Democrats' tough guy card and trying to say some incendiary things. I'll play it for you just after the break. But thank you, Jason. Thank you for voting that Colbert show was just awful, and you can't blame Trump. Blame yourself. It's an excellent point of view. Appreciate you. That's the old saying. If your shoes smell, don't blame your socks. You know, it's you. It's your feet. That's how I feel about the Colbert thing. And yes, Adam Schiff was on last night. Adam Shifty Schiff was on last night, and I think he's trying to create some street cred for himself and his party. What did Adam Schiff say that has tongues wagging? I've got that. We have more from J.D. Vance. There's news about the clawback bill, which got to the House last night. President Trump making sure we get that $9.4 billion back. Sorry, PBS. Sorry, Big Bird. Colbert's not the only one that's going to be getting some cuts. Join the conversation. 888-630-9625. It's Opelka for Plant on the Chris Plant Show.
The only thing your mouth is good for is being Vladimir Putin's holster. Your presidential library. The adults aren't cutting it anymore. I think we need to change the voting age. Until we do something about guns, you can't vote if you're over 18. And it's more. I'd feel better.
Stephen Colbert with the kind of cutting-edge comedy / political statements that we're only going to have 10 more months of, and then he'll ride off into the sunset, and someone else will pick him up. He'll probably end up back on Comedy Central. We'll see. It's Michael Opelka for Chris Plant on the Chris Plant Show discussing the big bombshell that happened yesterday. CBS says they're ending the Colbert Show. And I'm here for all of it. I'm here for the celebration, the schadenfreude celebration of it. And then you have to wonder what's going to happen to the rest of the late night world. Well, Larry in Fort Worth, Texas is weighing in on the Chris Plant Show. Larry, welcome, sir. What's your thought?
Hey, Mike. How are you doing today?
Good, sir. Good, sir. How's Cowtown doing? I miss Fort Worth. It's always a great town.
Oh, yeah. No, we're doing great. We're baking as usual in the hot Texas sun.
Well, it's a good day to go to Joe T. Garcia's and get yourself a bucket of necks and some great tacos.
There you go.
So what's your take on this late night situation? What do you think is going to happen to late night TV?
So here's my take. So I'm 60 years old. I turned 60 this year, and I grew up with Johnny Carson and David Letterman. After Letterman, I just kind of weaned myself off of late night TV, and so really didn't get into it. And I haven't watched it ever since Letterman went off the air. But anyway, at least when he was on CBS or NBC. Well, anyway, I'm thinking that the demographic has changed now because young people and middle-aged people who they're trying to get, they're not going to come home and want to watch late-night TV of anything because they're going to be on their computers, doing whatever or playing games or anything like that. If anything, I see local TV stations coming in with a feed of, a shopping channel or something.
Oh, I think you're right. I think we're going to see transactional television take over the late night spot because there's just so much competition from the internet, from tablets, from phones, from laptops, etc., that people are streaming more than they're relying on the networks. And let's face it, they tape all these shows. They're taped earlier in the evening, so nothing's really live anymore. There's no edge to it, and I think everybody senses that. I appreciate you being there. Thanks so much. Try and stay cool in the heat of Fort Worth and the Metroplex area there. Thank you, Larry. I mentioned Adam Schiff was on with Colbert last night, trying to be a tough guy, and he's all upset because President Trump is hinting that the DOJ is going to come after him for mortgage fraud.
Ever since I led his first impeachment, he's threatened me with jail and prosecution and called me a traitor, accused me of treason, blah, blah, blah. He coerced Republicans into censuring me in the House, and now the latest attack on me. So I just want to direct this, if this is the right camera, or maybe that's the right camera.
That's the right camera right there.
Donald, piss off.
And the crowd goes wild. Really, at that? Seriously, people. That's the red meat you wanted?
It's notarizing that.
Yes. But Donald, before you piss off, would you release the Epstein files?
And there it is. The Democrats had control and could have released all that stuff for years, but now suddenly they're interested in it. Isn't that fascinating? Adam Schiff, trying to be a tough guy. We'll get into the Epstein story because there were some very fascinating details that emerged yesterday as it relates to that, and a couple other crazy stories. Donald Trump probably laughing at Adam Schiff this morning. I hope he is. All right, first hour of the show in the books. You want to join us for the rest of it, 888-630-9625. It's Opelka in for Plant on the Chris Plant Show.